Climbing back upon Mount Soapbox for another rant. A few weeks ago, we talked about how Nintendo was raising their prices, the Switch 2, their games, and obviously a lot of people are not happy about that. For some reason, Microsoft looked at the decision that Nintendo made and thought that that was a really good idea. And they have announced that the Xbox hardware, the consoles, along with the controllers and the games are going to be going up in price following in the footsteps of Nintendo. IGN posted the prices, so I'll link their article below in the description section. Going forward, here is the expected prices on various Xbox consoles, accessories in the US. I'm not going to go over all these, but the like the Series S 1 terabyte was $350. Now it's going to be $430. The digital version of the Xbox Series X was $450. It's taken a $100 price jump to $550. The regular Xbox Series X, which is a console I have, originally it was $500 US. Now another $100 jump to $600 US. The Xbox Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition was originally $600. Now it's going to be $730. And apparently games on Microsoft will be jumping from $70 to $80 as well. So once again, it looks like the gaming industry is trying to push prices up across the board. Good news for now when it comes to Sony, it looks like they have no intention of raising their prices for the PS5 consoles or their accessories. But whether or not they keep those prices where they are or ultimately raise them, only time will tell. I don't know what kind of reverse psychology Microsoft is trying to pull on gamers, but this is not going to increase sales of your consoles or accessories. Let's look at the units, okay? Units sold so far. PS5 has sold over 75 million units. Meanwhile, Series X and S consoles have only sold 32 million consoles worldwide. So PS5 has more than doubled the amount of sales over the Xbox Series X and S. Microsoft, wouldn't you want to do the opposite? Instead of raising prices on these consoles, wouldn't you want to, lower them in order to encourage more players to buy the Xbox Series S and X as opposed to the PS5 consoles? It feels like a lot of the decisions Microsoft has been making in regards to Xbox has been that of a company wanting to ultimately phase out and do away with the Xbox console. A lot of exclusive Xbox games have been slowly moved over to PlayStation. Last year it was Sea of Thieves and Forza Horizon's over there now. And there's like Indiana Jones, which originally debuted on the Xbox Series, is now available on PS5 and is actually selling rather well on the PlayStation 5. As a gamer, I like it whenever games are available across multiple platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and in some regards Switch. So I'm not really too big on exclusive titles, but I also understand why Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo have exclusive titles, because that does appeal to some gamers out there as to why they would buy a Switch over a PlayStation or a PlayStation over an Xbox or an Xbox over a PlayStation. There's no point in having an Xbox anymore if you can play Sea of Thieves on the PS5 or Forza or the new Indiana Jones game or any of these other quote-unquote exclusive games on Microsoft that will eventually find their way over to the PS5. And for the record, I'm not a PS5 fanboy. I'm not an Xbox fanboy. I like video games ever since I was a kid, and I've had the original Xbox whenever it came out with KOTOR because I love Star Wars, and since then I've purchased probably almost every single Xbox console, the 360, Xbox One, Xbox One X, as well as an Xbox Series X. But on the flip side, I've also been playing on the PlayStation, PS2, PS4, PS4 Pro, and PS5. I think that competition in any market, especially in the gaming industry, is healthy. If Xbox eventually is phased out by these terrible decisions by Microsoft, then that means that with the exception of Nintendo Switch 2 and those games, There's a very real possibility that PlayStation under Sony will corner the future gaming platform market, which would be a very bad thing for players and consumers. Now, Microsoft says that the reason why they're doing this is because of the quote-unquote tariffs, which may or may not turn out to be true, depending on what happens in the next week or so. However, I believe that Microsoft was most likely planning on raising the prices anyways. Like Nintendo, Microsoft believes that raising the prices will benefit them and equal more money in their pockets. Another prime example of greed in the gaming industry. And to be honest, I think that what Microsoft really cares about more than their console is the Game Pass system that they built, as well as the IPs that they purchased, the studios, and eventually if they do away with Xbox and just have the ability to put Game Pass on PS5 and maybe even on Switch 2 with some limitations in the games that the Switch 2 can run, I believe that's the direction that Microsoft might be heading in the future, even though there is talk of the successor to the Xbox Series console being in development, along with the PS6 over at Sony. I've never really cared for the concept of a quote-unquote gaming war, but if we look at the numbers right now and the decisions being made by Microsoft, they're not exactly even close to winning the gaming war against Sony, especially since the current gen console sales of Series X combined worldwide is less than half of that of the PS5. The only thing I see happening from this price hike by Microsoft is even less consoles and accessories being moved off the shelves physically as well as digitally. And it wouldn't surprise me if by the holiday season Microsoft does a 180 and slashes the prices across the board for the series consoles, controllers, as well as accessories. But by then it might be too little too late. Your thoughts, views, and opinions, welcome as always below in the comment section.